Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're going over the Game Awards of 2024. So first I'm going to go over the games that they revealed, and it's not all of them. It's a lot of them though. It's quite a few. There's probably going to be just a brief little thing I'll go over for about 30. Yeah, probably about 30 games, 35 games. I'll give a final score for it, my thoughts, and then we'll go over um, a lot of the actual awards that were given out. So let's go ahead and get started. So we had Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. This is summer 2025. This is like a 2D side scroller, and Ninja Gaiden's been a pretty big IP. But yeah, not everyone likes the 2D side scroller. We had some amazing Ninja Gaiden games for like the 360, and we haven't had some serious Ninja Gaiden for a while, so it's kind of neat to see that. We had One Move Away. This is going to be 2025. This is like a cozy packing game. We had Slay the Spire 2 in 2025. We have Thick as Thieves. I didn't actually see a date for this one, but this is like PvPvE of 4 players, and it's basically an environment where it's you against 3 other players plus NPCs in the game of all trying to steal the same object at the same time. So it looks interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It does look interesting. It has my interest at least, but I'm not sure what price point I would pay for it. So there's also the Shadow Labyrinth. This is again 2025. This is also a 2D side scroller. We have Steel Paws, which was only on Netflix as like a mobile game, which I thought was interesting. I've never seen a game just for a streaming service. That was kind of surprising. Also, Tales of the Shrine. Excuse me, Tales of the Shire. I can't read my own writing. This is March 25th, 2025. This is definitely a cozy third-person kind of like Sims 4 type of game in a way. I mean, you get to make meals, you get to decorate your home. It looks like you have a garden as well outside, and no wraith coming to wipe you all out. You know, think of something like My Time at Portia, with a mix of like kind of Stardew with a mix of cooking and baking. Yeah, it's something like that. So we also saw Rematch, which is a football game, European football. This is summer 2025, and yeah, it's a third-person soccer game. So I actually think that will be fairly big for people to try. Maybe not necessarily in the United States, but I could see this in like South America, Europe, and maybe even Africa. And what was interesting is like all of those were in a like pre-event, which was nuts. And so now we actually get to the main event at this point, and the first big trailer that we see is the Witcher 4 trailer. No release date yet. Some of these trailers were captured like in-game type of footage, but definitely pedicured, definitely probably looks better than what we'll expect from the actual game release. And a lot of these too were cinematic trailers, maybe with a little bit of gameplay, and sometimes none at all. So, but yeah, we had The Witcher 4, we had Elden Ring, Night Rain, which is 2025 as well. There's going to be a play test in February. I think a play test in February. You can start registering in January. But yeah, Night Rain is going to be a different type of Elden Ring game, and I'm actually going to talk about that. And while I think it'll be interesting, and I do want to play it, I'm not sure if it's going to be the type of value proposition that people think it'll be, like a really big game for like roughly, $50-$60. I am curious actually what they're going to try to sell this for, because this is a standalone game, but it's not Elden Ring 2. And it is co-op, but it does have like a solo mode, so you can do solo or 3 players, but it's using old assets from Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, and think of it as like a kind of like a boss runner that's randomized, like a dungeon, and it'll have some like battle royale elements. Again, I will get all into that when I'm not working to death. Next, we got to see Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is actually coming to PC. This will be January 23rd, 2025. If you pre-order, you save 30%, which is pretty crazy. So I'm just thinking Square Enix, again, did not sell as many as they were hoping for, which they always kind of say that. But to give a 30% discount for pre-ordering, that's pretty flippin' wild. So also the biggest platform is PC. I mean, there's 132 million just on Steam, and then there's also the Epic Games Store too. And so, yeah, they're really trying to sell this game. And yeah, that'll be January 23rd when it comes out. Civilization 7, February 11th, 2025. We got to see Outer Worlds 2, which I'm excited for this one. I enjoyed the first one. This will be coming out sometime in 2025. We had Split Fiction, which I'm actually really stoked for this. This is March 6th, 2025. And it's from the makers of It Takes Two. And yeah, again, it's a co-op game. It's split screen. Again, you'll only have to buy one copy, and then you can basically invite a friend that doesn't own it, and you both can play the same game. So, yeah, very, very easy to get a hold of. And yeah, my wife and I are going to play it. I'm pretty stoked about that. Next, we got to see Killing Floor 3. This will be March 2025. We also got to see a new aspect of the Game Awards called Game Changer. And we got to see Amir, someone that got to see some friends and what was just happening in the industry with people losing their jobs. He said so far to date, there's been 34,000 jobs that have been lost in the last 3 years, which is way more than what we were initially thinking. Because in 2023, toward the end, we had some people that were keeping up with it a little bit. In 2020 or 2022, we had some people starting to keep up with it, some with a lot of QAs being fired. And then we had 2023 where there was a lot of people, 10,000 or no, yeah, I think it was 9 or 10,000 roughly that were laid off. And then 2024 has been worse, but we're just not really hearing that anymore. It's just become normal, and we're not hearing about that as much. So it was really nice to see Jeff Keighley actually do that. But yeah, Amir created a job posting list basically in Excel to be able to provide a free thing for people to be able to get jobs, and he's helped people get find 3,000 jobs so far. Which is crazy. So yeah, he's roughly helped about 10% of those that have lost their jobs, which is pretty amazing. And doesn't have massive support. He's just doing this because he had friends lose their jobs, and he's got to do something. Because yeah, it's 34,000 for the gaming industry in 3 years is really high. It's probably one of the worst times we've had outside of like 2000. So that was actually awesome to see, and he got to talk a little bit about what he did and what he still plans to do, so that was neat. Next, we got to see Steel Hunters by Wargaming. They're the makers of World of Tanks. This is going to be PC only, at least for right now, and they started that with World of Tanks as well. Started on PC, eventually got it over to consoles, and then later on mobile. But yeah, there's going to be a beta on December 12th through the 22nd, so yeah, crap is actually running right now, and I'm working to death, so I may not be able to get to that. But this one actually did look pretty interesting. Think of just like a mech game. That's exactly what it is. Next, we get to see Long Dark 2, Black Frost. This is going to be 2026. Borderlands 4, 2025. Got to see Splitgate 2, 2025. This is like a PvP arena with portals. So yeah, it did look interesting, kind of a different take on it. But again, these PvP arenas, they're not as popular as they used to be. And the original arenas that have started with like Siege and Fortnite and Apex, like Counter-Strike, they're going to keep going. People have invested in those already, and it's going to be very hard to pull them away. And so, yeah, I wish them luck. I really do. But yeah, I think it's going to be tough. We also got to see some more of Mecha Break. This is again another like Armored Core type of style of game. Very fast-paced action, pretty crazy and insane. PvP and PvE, I believe. And this will be spring of 2025. Next, we got to see Toric Origins. No date. This is going to be third person, and this is like a reboot to the Toric series. Next, we got to see Helldivers 2 update. We're getting a third faction, which is out now, and we're also having a vehicle. So think of like a Halo vehicle where you have a gunner, a driver, and a shotgunner on the side, and y'all shooting, trying to just make it through the map. So that's kind of cool. Next, we got to see Warframe. This is going to be their next update, and I think they said their last update, their last big update, which is 1999. So you're going to be blipped right into the past. That's going to be the theme and style of Warframe, and this will be coming out pretty soon. We also got to see Pal World getting an update, and they're still working toward an official launch, but they still have that stuff with Nintendo that they have to work through, and they have worked on patching some of the patent issues out of the game, and so I think Pal World is here to stay. Actually, I think ultimately they're going to win. Congratulations, Pocket Pair! I'm so stoked because Nintendo needs some competition. We also got to see Onimusha. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. This is 2026. And think of a kind of Sekiro-like of game. Onimusha. I'm sorry. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But yeah, that'll be 2026. We also got to see the first Berserker, Kazan. This will be March 27th, 2025. This is actually one of the games, too, that I have that I'm interested in playing. And I got to make a video, too, of all of the games that I'm interested in playing that you guys are going to be able to vote for. But I need to make a video because I got a list that's too long. We need to narrow it down to 3 different titles and, call it good. Something, too, during this entire show is that we got to see a lot of ads, actually, for Veilguard. Well, not a lot, but we got to see some ads for Veilguard, some ads for Star Wars Outlaws, and some ads for Fortnite OG Season 1. It just makes me think that it's like, the ads that they had for these games that were kind of throughout the show, that is that they're just really not selling well. And, if you're pushing something through ads like crazy, it's because you're not selling. So, or you're having deep discounts like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you're not selling enough. And that's why you see the ads like crazy. If the thing's never discounted, like Elden Ring, if the thing's never has ads, like Elden Ring, it's doing fine. And it's been doing fine. They just hit, I think they just hit like 28 million in sales. Unit sales, which is crazy. So yeah, From Software isn't hurting for money. They're doing a great job. That equals to about like almost like $1.5 billion with their DLC and Elden Ring itself. Pretty crazy. Next, we got to see Dying Light, The Beast. This will be summer 2025. We also got to see Stage Fright. No release date. This is also going to be a co-op game. More simple, kind of a cozy style, but in a bit of a platformer. That looked interesting. We also got to see The Last of Us Part 2 remaster to PC, April 3rd, 2025. We also got to see Mafia Old Country, summer of 2025, which this is another game that I'm interested in playing for you guys to vote for next year. We also got to see Dispatch, which is all about dispatching heroes to calls from NPCs that call into the switchboard. So, like, you're the dispatcher, and you're helping run the show, and you're going to get calls, and basically you need to marry up the appropriate hero with the situation that's coming in on the call. This will be released in 2025 as well. We also got Okami 2, I believe I'm saying that correctly, which we haven't had a game from them in a long, long time, and some people that know the IP are pretty stoked. Not me personally, but yeah, that'll be a pretty big IP for some people, but again, no release date. We also got to see Crimson Desert. This will be late 2025. This is another game that I'm excited for. And then we also got to see Intergalactic, which I believe was one of the last ones. No date and PS5 only. And Intergalactic, we didn't get to see very much. Apparently, too, this was in-game footage. Though, again, it looks really, really good with, like, ray tracing shadows and stuff like that. If you go back and watch the trailer, like, realistic shadows to the nth degree. look pretty nuts. And yeah, so visually it looks very good. Though I don't think people are liking the attitude of the main protagonist. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with that. So that was basically the show. That was basically the views that or the trailers that we got. And again, it was a lot of like CGI trailers, and kind of disappointed in that. There were thankfully a lot of games that were focused on for next year, 2025. But we still had from 2026, and we still had some that again are like, 3, 4 more years maybe away from actual stuff, like Interstellar. I mean, Interstellar's been in development for I think 4 years now. But if it's going to be any type of a game that's got content to play and invest in, it's going to need at least probably 2, 3 more years. So yeah, this is going to be one of like one of the last big games to release on the current gen, in my opinion. And then we'll probably see this gap sometime between 26 and 28, and a lot of stuff I think is going to be pushed over to release titles for the next gen consoles, both for Xbox and for PlayStation. Just off the top of my head, some stuff we didn't see. We didn't see anything about the Marvel Hydra movie, or excuse me, not movie, video game with Captain America and Black Panther. We didn't see anything about that. We also didn't see anything about the Wonder Woman game. That's going to have some of the Nemesis system to it. We didn't see anything about that. We also didn't see anything about the Switch 2. We didn't see anything about GTA 6. Like, there were some pretty big IPs that they've been sharing and teasing, and like we saw nothing. And so if we don't see anything by Summer Game Fest, basically, I really don't think those games are coming out this year. And we're still seeing kind of this general push is like the big AAA stuff is being slotted for end of the year. And yeah, I just think they need that extra time. Because again, they spend forever making these games, and it's just taken a ton of time. And we also had a ton of delays too. Take 2023 and 2024 as an example. Finally, we've had these games that have come out that have been delayed in some cases multiple times, and the delays aren't just 2 or 3 months. They're 4 months, they're 6 months, they're 8 or 9 months, almost a year. And it's just getting crazy. And yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. I definitely think some of these games that are for 2025 are going to be pushed to 26. And yeah, GTA 6 might actually be one of them. And that's another game that I'm having on my list of you guys to vote for next year. So let's look into the awards. We'll go through this pretty quick. So we had the best fighting game. That was Tekken 8. We also had the best action game, Black Myth Wukong. Most anticipated, GTA 6. Best multiplayer, Helldivers 2. Woo! I'm so glad they won that because it has been a wonderful game. Best community support was Baldur's Gate 3, which they definitely deserve that one as well. Best art direction was Metaphor ReFantazio. Best game direction was Astro Bot. Best indie debut was Balatro. Best voice actor was Helldivers. Excuse me, was Helldivers. Was Hellblade 2. Best action adventure was Astro Bot. Best RPG was Metaphor ReFantazio. Best sim strategy was Frostpunk 2, which Frostpunk 2 is going to be coming next year for console. It's been out for PC, but yeah, that's going to be coming to console next year. Best ongoing game was Helldivers 2. Best adaptation was the Fallout TV show. Best, which I agree with that by far. That was amazing. Best music was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Best independent game was Balatro. Best mobile game was Balatro. Best audio design was Hellblade 2. Which, yeah, I would probably agree with that one. Playing it, very good on the audio. But man, if I could, I would actually stick Stalker 2 in that one. The audio in the game, for me, just makes that environment so incredibly immersive. It's insane. Player's voice, basically us choosing what we want for Game of the Year, is Black Myth Wukong. Best narrative was Metaphor Ray Fantasio, and Game of the Year was Astro Bot. And I was shocked because I don't feel like it should have won Game of the Year with other games that we've had this year. Some of them not even being nominated for a Game of the Year. And, I'll get into why real fast. It's just I don't feel that Astro Bot should have won because it was mostly the nostalgia that made the game. We had over 100 cameos in the game in some of these IPs Sony doesn't even support anymore, which is incredibly frustrating for like over a decade or two. Like some of these IPs are really old and we just don't get to see them. And players want these IPs. Like Bloodborne, for example. Okay, we want a remastered. We want Bloodborne going to other platforms. There's also Sly Cooper. There's Jack and Dexter. There was, I'm drawing a blank now, but there were quite a few. And I covered this earlier when Astro Bot actually came out. And players definitely want these games. They want to engage with these characters. And while it wasn't in the way that they wanted, they were finally able to do that with Astro Bot. And that makes some really great fuzzy feelings, and it's really nice to actually engage with those characters. But without the cameos, I don't think Astro Bot ever would have been nominated for Game of the Year. I also don't think Astro Bot would have had a 94 out of 100 score for its review on Metacritic. I don't think it would have had those things. I still think it would have been good. It was a good platformer, good music, good game design. Very fun, very simple too. And just like as we age, we like simpler games in most cases. But again, yeah, it's the cameos are what made the game, and that's also how they sold. That's how they sold the game in a lot of cases. Okay, they showed Bloodborne characters, they showed Kratos, they showed other IPs, like even Gravity Rush, which most people don't even remember. But yeah, that was another IP that, again, they just haven't supported. And it's frustrating. And to see the amount of games that they have now, the new IPs that they've pushed, the live service that they've pushed with Jim Ryan, it just doesn't feel like PlayStation, with the PlayStation that we grew up with. And I think it's really... Yeah, I think in a way it's hurting them right now. They're selling consoles, but they're not really selling their games like they should. Because again, Astro Bot, we're talking again Game of the Year. Let's take God of War for example. God of War had 11 million in sales in 7 weeks, and Astro Bot only had 1.5 million in sales in 7 weeks. And it's kind of on par with, excuse me, with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. In sales for that 7-week period. But again, I don't think Astro Bot is doing as well as they'd hoped because it's got 4 DLCs and they're all free through basically just before Christmas. And that's kind of shocking. Usually if companies can make money, they absolutely will. And Sony is just as well one of those companies. And so is Microsoft. And so... yeah, it's just surprising. I don't really think it's doing as well as we would expect. I think maybe by the end of the year, it'll reach around 2 million in sales. But again, if the game's not doing very well, I don't think we're going to see extra sales. But yeah, me personally, I just don't think a Game of the Year should win based off of nostalgia, based off of other IPs or other games. The game itself should be able to sell itself. And... Astro Bot isn't able to stand on its own 2 feet, in my opinion, because they pushed it so hard with all of the other cameos. And so that's just my opinion. That's my hot take. And it's very frustrating for me. It's the same reason why I don't think remasters or remakes, maybe remakes to a degree, if they truly are remade. And the game style or the gameplay is definitely different, or the game mechanics are different. Maybe the remakes should be considered for Game of the Year, but this is why, too, I don't believe remasters should be included. It's also why I don't think DLCs should be included either for Game of the Year, is because, again, they cannot stand on their own. They're built off of past feelings, past emotions, and that's what's selling the game. So... yeah, that's just my opinion. Let's go ahead and move to the review. For the overall show, it was definitely better. But it's still a C minus for me. It's still probably roughly like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It was worth seeing some aspects of it. But again, not enough time was given. Even less this year for a lot of a lot of the awards, for folks to be able to speak, to be able to talk about you know, the development and thanking the team. Again, like a lot of this was cut down to less than 60 seconds for a lot of people, which was which is pretty insane, which was pretty frustrating. And some of them too didn't even get center stage. They just kind of got to be on the side a little bit, talk for 30, 45 seconds, and basically say thank you and thanks to Jeff Keighley and the team, and then I'm going to go sit down. And that was basically it. And so again, it was just kind of awkward. And I think too, a lot of people even skipped the beginning part of the show before the quote main event, and it was just kind of awkward to see that. Two, the show was incredibly long. The show was over 4 hours. It's the longest Game Awards show we've ever had. And again, the biggest push was all of the games. And this was probably 2/3 of the games that we saw in the showcase. The other third I didn't even mention. So Jeff Keighley made a ton of money for every minute of game trailer. He made $250K. Yeah, so he made he made a lot of money. He made a lot of money. Very lucrative for him. We also didn't need the performances, any of them. It is nice, but again, this is games, and our time is important. And who wants to sit for 4 hours watching a game show? Luckily I was at work, so I could kind of just have it running, right? But again, it was kind of a waste of time. And again, I appreciated the classical music. I enjoyed the orchestras. To actually hear orchestras is awesome, and they're becoming more rare, unfortunately. But again, it's like I feel like the orchestras had more time than actual speeches for those that won awards. The ads on YouTube were, oh my word, very often and very annoying. DoorDash, advertising other games that have already been out, and we didn't get to see as much hardware this time. Okay, like monitors or like handhelds or things like that, which was nice. But yeah, lots and lots of ads. We also had a lot of new games announced, but many had no date or were in 2026. A lot of others we already knew about. So again, we have like roughly 10 showcases a year. And so, yeah, these games get talked about a ton, which is nuts. And a lot of the trailers, too, which we already mentioned, had a lot of gameplay. Excuse me, some of the trailers did not have a lot of gameplay, which was pretty frustrating. So we got to see a lot of cinematics, and that really doesn't sell the game for me anymore. I really need to actually see what the game is, to see how invested it is and stuff. And yeah, again, that is just kind of frustrating. The pacing for the game show award, or for the game awards, was definitely felt faster. Short ending screen too at times at the end of the trailer, because again, they had blocks of 30 seconds, 125K, and so they want to show as much as they can, and then for like literally a second or two, show the end screen of like when it releases, and then boop, it's gone. Like, it was so incredibly fast, because again, they don't want to go over. I did like all of the jokes about the bad aspects of the game show. So Keighley getting in the way, Keighley getting more time to talk, people not being able to talk as long, and that was kind of throughout the entire show, and that was pretty hilarious. The stage definitely looked upgraded and expensive from the previous game show. So yeah, it's a ton. The Game Awards on the Game Awards channel had 10.6 million views by the 14th. That's a couple of days ago, and yeah, which was crazy. Yeah, over 10 million views. So again, this is the biggest showcase, and it is kind of shocking that some of the games that we're expecting, some of the games that are even supposed to come out within 12 months, or less, aren't even being shown. It makes me wonder if they're going to be delayed or if they're being saved for another showcase or something else. I don't know. But yeah, it was just kind of shocking. There's a lot of AAA games we didn't even get to see. So honestly, in my opinion, you could have skipped it. Just watch the highlights. Again, there's a lot of videos like mine that just do a brief overview or talk about stuff anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes. But yeah, it was a C minus. But yeah, 4 hours plus. That is forever. That is not being respectful of people's time at all. I thought the last showcase was, or Game Awards was a lot, but man, added like a whole another hour and a half this year, which is just wild. So thanks for tuning in, folks. You can always follow me at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. Don't forget also Discord, Twitch, and Discord, Twitter, X, and Twitch. You can follow me on Twitch if you want to see everything first on my channel. Otherwise, it'll be critiqued a little bit and uploaded to YouTube. And hopefully, you guys are doing well. Just take some time too to just engage with Christmas. That is so important. And yeah, regardless of how your relationships are or how messy it is, as you age, at the end of the day, all you really have is just family. So, with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.